JB here, May 29th, 322. Have about 38 minutes to close. It's going to be really quick. Talk about the market, some of the trades I took on. We have HPQ after the close and go from there. But take a look at the S&P. Gapped lower this morning, all the way down to 5. I think we opened at 5. The open was 525.68. And we tried to bounce to 527, and we've been chopping in between 527 and 526 or so ever since. So I don't know if we're going to get some resolution to the upside here into the end of the day, but I guess if there's any silver lining is that the market's still held that 525 handle. Not much in the way of catalyst after the close. Tomorrow we have DELL earnings and then PCE data on Friday, which, oh my gosh, the closer we get to it, the more anticipated it's getting. Wow, look at DELL. DELL's almost 176. All right, so that's kind of the thought there. Is I posted on a watch list this morning about always be hedging. I'll continue to look for hedges, especially in weakness, and especially if we break that 525. Still cautiously optimistic, so I think we can chop here. PC data comes in line or cooler than expected, and then maybe we head to 530 into the weekend. That's kind of the bull case. The intermediate case where we chop here, don't do much between 525 and 530, close at 526 into the weekend. And then the bear case, which I don't want to see. How didn't expect the PCE data. We break under 525 on a SPY, and then we head into the weekend with the 50-day looming at 516. Hope the latter is not going to be the outcome, hoping the first two, but I guess we'll find out, right? So let me quickly talk about DELL. DELL is soaring. Gosh, it's one of there's so many names over the years where you kind of know what's going to happen, but whether it shakes you out or it takes time to come to fruition, things like that. But there's DELL, and you knew there was going to be FOMO at some point with all their backlog, the ties with NVIDIA, the run in Supermicro, what's going on with AI. It's just like a perfect cocktail for a squeeze, And I had those calls when it was 115, it goes up to 130, goes back down. I have the 150s, 160s. I think I had the 145s. Made some profits on a Thursday or Friday when it started to go. And then I was looking for calls to play into their event in Vegas last week and then their earnings this week. And I just couldn't pull the trigger because the premiums were expensive. But the longer I took, the higher the premiums went. So it's kind of kept me out of position. Not going to sit here and kick myself. But gosh, I mean, it's 176 now. I thought 185 was positive earnings. It might be at 185 before the close tomorrow. So, and then you have to start thinking if they have a monster quarter, monster beat, monster raise, maybe it's 220 or so. This morning I was looking at the 200s. I said, I'm not paying $2 for a strike that expires in 2 days. And it's kind of like, I don't want to lose profits on DELL, right? That's my thing. It's like almost worse to chase it here and then watch it. Maybe there's some profit taken, whatever, and those calls become bidless or something like that. So I'll sit on the sidelines. I'll revisit come Friday morning, but crazy move here on DELL. So that's DELL. Take a look at CAVA Group, and I had some of the, I think it was May 65s, no, May 80s. I think I had May 80s. The stock went bonkers, closed those out for some nice profits, and I haven't been in it ever since. And then recently it's been running up into earnings. I think it was 88 or so. Then let's see if I can, do I have the chart up? Yeah, well, I think it hit, 87, 86, 87 into earnings. Then it fell back. That was on Friday. I'm trying to do, no, that was actually yesterday, right? And then they announced earnings, and great earnings. Stock gapped up right after release, and then it just reversed the gains despite a huge beat and raise. And I guess there was some concerns around their same store sales. When you have a company that's opening locations, sometimes they can mask their year over year growth. It's masked because of locations opening as opposed to same store sales, which typically, back in the day when I used to be big into Chipotle, you would look at the same store sales, they'd be great, and then the most key component of that was stores open more than a year. What are those same store sales on those locations? So I think maybe that was some of the concern, but it was still a monster beat and raise. And then the CEO's on CNBC, and you listen to him, it just seems like it's crazy multiple right now, but there's probably going to be some FOMO up to 100, past 100. So once it was 74, started to bounce. I thought if this went red to green, it's going to squeeze. So I went and got some Lotto 90s. Lucky enough to lock some in to cover costs, and it kept going, locked some more in for a little over 400% or so, or 300%. and then just lock the last in for 1,000%. So as much as I would like to sit, and hold on to into tomorrow, I'm kind of happy. It wasn't a trade I was looking to take today. Hit those calls, they went up to 180. Wow. So not 1,000%. They were up 700%, something like that. But here it is, 89.11. Maybe that keeps going. I hope it does. I know there's some people in it. I've got messages on FinTwit as well. I hope that keeps going. But interesting story. And typically, I say this a lot, new highs beget new highs, meaning once it breaks through the blue skies, once it breaks through new all-time highs, typically it's a lot easier to get more new highs because the sellers are gone, right? So wouldn't be surprised to see that gap tomorrow, but I'm not going to kick myself on that one. Added some Broadcom put hedges this morning. And it seems like, especially over the last couple of weeks, every time I get the Broadcom hedges, the initial reaction doesn't pay off, and then the next day or the day after, I'm happy to hold them. So I'm hoping that's not the case, but I'm not ruling out a situation where whether it be a pullback again, Nvidia and Dell sold off at the open this morning. You thought maybe this is going to be start of just a little greed reset. I'll continue to hold those, but I did add those at the open. HPQ reports after the close today. I'm not going to say this is like the baby Dell, right? This is not going to be a similar situation, but hey, you don't know. I don't think any AI tailwind is baked into the stock whatsoever. It's been churning for the last 2 years. I think it's down 5% over the last 3 years, while Dell is up 200%. And they're not fair comparisons, but they're similar, right? And similar sector. Their fundamentals are a little different. Different. If you look at HPQ, it's more of a fundamentally sound company, less debt, doing buybacks, issues a dividend. So I don't know if that's some of the reason why maybe it's been floundering. People look at it as a value play, but if it switches to a growth story, I mentioned Microsoft had their event last week, and HPQ announced some AI names that's going to be launched. And I talked about this morning as well, this whole refresh, right? The whole AI computer refresh, it's coming. So even if HP gets just a very small fraction of that, the stock's going to trade a heck of a lot higher than it is now. I think it's post a decent quarter. Maybe there's some concerns with China, but I think they're going to have great guidance. The stock trades into the 35 plus range, and then I'll look to add some more strikes tomorrow. I'm not going to talk about MDB. What else did I have? TERNs, right? So TERN went all the way up to 666. I guess that's a good omen, right? Oh no, 777 is the good number, right? 666 is the bad number. But it has these candles. Like, I don't know if it's some kind of fund that's trying to get into TERNs or TERN Pharmaceuticals. Excuse me, it's TERNs Pharmaceuticals, but TERN is the ticker. I don't know if someone's trying to get into it or whatever the case is, but it's had these odd spikes. Had it at about 1:30 today, had another one at about 3 o'clock today, and decent volume spikes. And some of it, of course, is not the most liquid name, so maybe that's some of it, but good sign here. It's green. It's been green pretty much all day, hitting highs in the afternoon despite the market weakness. So I think that bodes well that it finally breaks out of this channel. Trying to think of some of the other names here. GPCRs in the red today, just kind of disappointing. VKTX similar, down 1.3% as well. If VKTX showed some strength, I was going to look for some weekly strikes. I'll just pass on that. Take a look at Chewy today. Frustrating, right? I think I had calls back in March or April. I think it was trading same range, like 16, 17 bucks. Company reported earnings in the after hours. Stock spiked all the way to 20 bucks and then just sold off. And it was still in the green at the open, and then it went from like 18 into the red. And yesterday, similar story after hours. Great report. Similar numbers, similar beat. Stock didn't really gap too much higher. Then they also announced a $500 million share buyback. And then this morning it just took off at the open. It hasn't looked back. And like, why couldn't it do this when I had the calls last quarter? Just shows you how kind of how the market is sometimes. It can drive you nuts that one earnings that you would think would be the one that catapults the stock is not the one. And then all it took was, whether it be some commentary or it's $500 million share buyback. I don't know exactly, can't put my finger on the exact reason, but to see it up today is a little frustrating. But yeah, not much to talk about on Chewy. I think it's some of the other names. I mean, wow. So Abercrombie and Fitch. So when I'm doing those earnings implied moves over the weekend, ANf comes up and I said, ANf, was it 104? Let's see how much it is up this year, because I didn't even look. But you're like, wait a second, this is like 19, not 19, but like 2005 name. You know, this is when you used to see their pictures of muscular people on the front of the mall. You know, their location at the mall, right? And then you'd walk by and you'd smell cologne coming out, and they're trying to entice you to get in. Anyway, that's old school. But uh, yeah, the stock opened 2024, $90. It's a double already, right? And you would think, and someone posted like they're selling a weight loss drug to go with every purchase or whatever it is, crazy stuff. But just goes to show you some of these names that once they're able to turn the corner on this on a story, it can really start to take off. It stocks up 25% today. Gosh. I think that's about it, folks. We got about 28 minutes to the close. Gosh, look at Dell still hitting highs, almost 177 here. Let's go HPQ. Hopefully the market holds ground, and I'll be back on audio tomorrow. Rock and roll.